exposure silhouette. Look like the meme of the chinless guy. Not very good. Craniotomy. Revachol has fallen. Billions must disco. He's gritting his jaw. Oh, he's mewing? He's mewing. Yeah, that's what that was. He's mewing.
Done it before. Don Hung, you do it.
Don Hung?
Wait,
Oh, wait.
Stop it. They're awake.
No, wait. Wait, I almost... No! No!
You all right?
Oh, I almost got a kiss from that beautiful anime boy.
Remember your name?
I don't want to think about the eons. I don't want to think about things, Herta.
How were they created? Why were they created? What were they created for? Have you ever thought about these questions?
Ma'am, I have never had a thought in my life. My phone's credits for this month are running out. What the hell? You're the defense general, or wait, you're the chief of security for this entire massive, expensive space station, and they give you a phone that has limited minutes? What the hell kind of operation is Herta running here? What a cheapskate.
In the blink of an eye, you knocked that big fella into Mr. Yang's black hole and saved me.
Yeah.
I still haven't thanked you properly yet.
I took my big old bat and knocked it into Mr. Yang's black hole. Yeah, get back to your work, old man. You don't have much time to live. It's like how old people always drive really slow. They always drive really slow, and I'm like, don't you want to get where you're going faster? You don't have a whole lot of time left. Our character doesn't really care about any of that. We're definitely not going to do any tutorials. The only tutorial we care about is a thick goat lady. Bartender says, "What do you have?" Skeleton goes, "Give me a beer and a mop." Do you get it? You get it? Give me a beer and a mop. Because he's a skeleton. Because he's a skeleton.
Who's there?
It's Don Hung. Don Hung is here. Let's go into Don Hung's room. Just me and Don.
It's you. The door's not locked. Come in.
He wants me to come in, class. He wants to get that kiss that March 7th clam slammed me about. How did you get frozen out there? And how did the caveman get frozen in here? I'm sure glad the sheriff is frozen out there, and I'm in here.
Who knows?
Watch me swoosh right in.
Before that.
God, I don't think any of you get that reference, and I'm just talking like a crazy person.
An inextricable connection between the Stellaron we're dealing with here and Uriel 06 becoming a frozen planet.
I'm sure glad that planet's frozen down there, and the caveman's frozen up here, and I'm the sheriff.
Are you doing okay after your first jump?
Well, it's very kind of you to ask, Dan. You're the first person who's actually asked me how I feel. You're the first person who's actually asked me if I'm okay. I think I'm falling in love with you, Dan Hung.
What? Is there something on my face?
It's more about what's not on your face, Don Hung. My lips.
It's gonna be soft mattresses and cushiony pillows tonight.
Pillowy mounds of mashed potatoes. Why do I make these references? What the hell is wrong with me? Not a single person in this class is gonna know what the hell I'm talking about. Oh my god. I have completely lost my mind. I've never heard of the Dark Fist tournament, but I guess I can't fight in it. They don't want me to do any of the dark fisting. Don Hung is asking me, where would you throw Pom-Pom's fur? I would throw the entire Pom-Pom into the trash. Cheap room. Was this sort of a pay-by-the-hour deal, or... Let me just make sure I have Dan Hang in my party. Yep, okay, we're good to go. Let's head into the cheap room. Dear guests, please rate how comfortable the bed is in your hotel room. That bed looks pretty comfortable, actually. Two full-grown men could sleep in that bed together.
Welcome. You've got mail.
Welcome, everyone. Welcome. Come on in. Find your seats. Thank you so much for joining me this evening. Hello, hello, hello. How are we all tonight? Hello, Hekutoni. Hello, Dragon. I'm glad to see you on this Saturday night. I'm doing pretty well. I hope you are too. Hello, Empress. It's been a long day. I've already streamed once today with TKF. Liking the human badger mode, Raven? I'm glad you like it. Drink a little water. Yes, indeed. It's been a long weekend already. You just finished watching Hamilton. Some absolute kino, you say? Never seen it myself. Heard great things, of course, though. We'll wait just a few minutes for the rest of the class to file on in. But we're going to have a great session, a great lesson. I certainly think so. Something very, very important. You're having a good day. How about me? It was pretty good. Some stressors, certainly. Well, a lot of stressors. But I'm happy to have made it to tonight's stream. This will make me feel better to be able to get this lesson, to be able to provide this for people. Having some cake for your bro, Speedy. I wish I had some cake. I do have some donuts. That's going to have to do for now. And it will do nicely. Brain on autopilot, Raven. That's a nice feature to have, I think. It's nice to have the autopilot. I don't know where I would be without it. Gets me through the day. Well, let's see here. I think we do need to invite our little friends up. There we go. Hanging out up on the shoulders for a little while at least. While we go through our intro stuff. Booped. Getting absolute booped. Yeah, it is Vulture Day, Cyrus. We'll talk about that in just a minute. Gonna go full vulture mode. Yeah, the brain does protect me from my brain. It would be nice if it wasn't doing the bad thing in the first place, but I'll take what I can get. Oh. Yeah, like I said, been a long day. We already streamed once today. But tonight's a nice, relaxing, hopefully calming lesson. Although it will be a little bit stressful. But that's good. It might be challenging. Be some challenging topics. But let's head to the classroom now, shall we? Hello, Snow Leopard. Hello, Snip. Snippity Snip. Welcome, welcome. Yeah. The pilot light is out, but my autopilot is working, I guess. But let's get things going. Yeah, it is Saturday, September 6th, 2025. We are going to have a lesson on mental health first aid, and then we will be playing some more Silksong, episode 2 of our playthrough. Of course, you know the class rules. You know the rules, and so do I. Use your redeems and emotes. There are new ones. If you haven't seen them, there are new emotes, both free and in the sub tier. New Mr. Aegis emotes. That's right. Like those. There we go, yeah. Brand new Mr. Aegis human badger mode emotes. By all means, of course, ask questions and give feedback. Use your free Amazon Prime sub if you would like to sub. I know subs are expensive, so if you've got the free one, you might as well use it. You've already given Jeff Bezos your money. You might as well get something out of it. Of course, I greatly... Oh! Through the sky. And hello, Dr. Phil Erotica. Glad to have you with us as well. I greatly appreciate any and all support that people choose to give. I don't go out and pursue it, but if people choose to support what we do here, our informational, educational, edutainment, live streaming, independent VTubing, I greatly appreciate that. It means a lot. Really validates what I do here. Of course, you can pick your stream avatar if you're not sure how to do that. If you haven't done so before, if you're not familiar with it, there's the little stream avatars panel on the screen, and you can pick any number of characters you would like. We have just about everything you can imagine. Except for a Mr. Aegis. There is no... Well, I mean, there is a badger, and there is a furret. Most importantly, though, just follow along. Share what we do with others. Have fun. Share it with your old pap-pap. Let your granny know about how great Mr. Aegis is, and family-friendly fun for all ages, I guess. And of course, check out the Knowledge Fellowship, the educational streamer group that I'm a part of. In fact, just today, a few hours ago, I appeared as the guest host, well, the host for the event that I created, the seminar series, where over the last few months, once a month, I have interviewed an educational live streamer. Today, we interviewed an art teacher, talked about the history of pigments. Some of you might have been there. It was fantastic, wonderful conversation, very interesting, talking about how we got our colors. And yes, Dragon has handed over the Bezos pesos. I love it so much. Yeah, check out the Knowledge Fellowship stream team. You can see their link in my bio. Always someone streaming something interesting and educational in that group. Today, of course, is September 6th, so let's check out what our icebreakers and fun facts for the day are. Let's see, what's the first thing? It is National Read a Book Day. I don't know how September 6th got associated with National Read a Book Day, but there it is. So our question to you is, what's the last book you've read? What's the last book you sat down and read? Even if it wasn't all the way through. Or maybe you haven't read things in a while. It's been a while for me. You don't remember either? You don't remember either, Raven? I get it. I get it. The Hunger Games for Seki. Emotionally immature parents for Zetsune Alpha. Yeah, I have not read the Hunger Games series either. I should get to that at some point. But what else is September 6th? What else is September 6th? It's International Vulture Awareness Day. You are now aware of vultures. Vultures have now been brought to your awareness. You can no longer pretend that you don't know that vultures exist. Beautiful burbs. Big, beautiful burbs who perform an important ecological niche. Big goobers. We love our vultures here, don't we, folks? You're a bear, Empress? What kind of bear? Kodiak? Polar? Sun bear? We know a vulture, a bone vulture. We have a bone vulture friend. Speaking of birds, though, September 6th must just be Bird Day because it's also National Hummingbird Day. From a huge type of bird, very large vulture, to the very small hummingbird. The large scavenger bird and the tiny, tiny little pollinator bird. What a great dichotomy that makes. Yes, both wonderfully important. Amazing that they stem from the same source, really. Both graceful dinosaurs. Feathered dinos. Do y'all have a favorite bird? Y'all have a favorite bird? Raven, you read Beowulf? Beowulf? I don't know how to pronounce it. I know that one of you has a favorite bird, for sure. Of course, we have something else we need to check in on, and it is the class behavior chart. Dragon likes red-winged blackbirds, although they would go down in the bad noodle category. Raven likes cardinals. Seki likes the emperor penguins. Aww. Goofy little goobers, aren't they? We've got our behavior chart, and up top, currently in Greg tier, the students who think, you know what, I'm doing pretty good. I'm pushing myself. I'm helping others. Feeling good like Angus. Well, that's Xander Turing, Scratchy, Ivy, Wes, Christine Fur, Raven, Nello, Cyrus, the Dragon, and Ocelot. Empress, you like Roadrunners? Those are actually pretty cool too. Where's the mask from? I don't know. I got it at Goodwill for $3. I don't know where this mask is from. I heard someone tell me once that it was from like some shooter game, one of those arena shooters. Yeah, I don't know. Our Beatrice Santellos, our BBs, our Maxi Lion, Upper Huntress, Avil Dragon, Vec, Jenny, Mortham, Seals, Countess Lita, Sonic, Anomaly Keys, Henry Bear, Fractal Fox, Nova, and Pulse, Tony, Chico Namiva, Mew Blue, Cheesecake, Rao, and Corbino Bambino. The Beatrice tier folks think that they're doing pretty good, doing all right, getting their work done. The Slackers, the Gregs, the Greg Lees are Utopia Tree, Sal, Dark Flare, Ralsei Reich, Aurora and Bandit, Marcus the Red Panda, Kevin's Kotatsu, and, well, who's that down there behind me? Well, it's me. It's Mr. H. Yes, I've found a way to transform back into a human, Sonic. I'll be able to transform freely between them soon. And I will graciously give you the power to use the Pokeball on me again to transform me back and forth. Once I've fully figured out this transformation magic. At the bottom, Harmoon Gelato, Shroomy, Dr. Phil Erotica, Bit Shepherd, Snowfox, Ayla Mooney, and Madurai Punished Bags. They think they're cat criminals, bad noodles, trash mammals. And if you're feeling like that, that's where you belong. Our behavior chart is for you to reflect on how you're doing lately and give yourself an honest assessment. To either reward yourself, hey, I'm doing great, or maybe, you know what, I could be doing better. Either way, it's up to you. If you would like to be on the chart, you just let me know. I'll put your name on a clip and add you to the chart. If you're on the chart and you'd like to be moved, you just tell me. Sonic, you're going to make pixel art with a bunch of streamers you watch? That sounds like a great idea. You feeling like Angus today, Raven? I'm glad to hear that. Which OC should I use? You should use... I don't know now. I guess it depends on the others. Either way, I'm quite beautiful. I must say so myself. We're going to do our breathing exercise next. We're going to do a 4-5-6 breathing exercise. We've been doing 5-7-8 breathing exercises, which is fantastic. Sometimes, though, for some people, that's a little bit challenging. So we're just going to do 4, 5, and 6, where we breathe in through our nose for 4 seconds. We hold it gently for 5 seconds. And then we exhale slowly over the course of 6 seconds. To do this, we're going to take one hand or paw or claw or talon or tentacle or hoof or whatever it is that you have on the end of some limb and put it right over your heart, right over your breastbone. And then I want you to take the other hand or paw or claw, talon, tentacle, hoof, tail, whatever it is that you have on the end of some other limb and put it right over your abdomen. Because we want to feel our abdomen rise and fall. Because we want to pull the air deep down into our lungs where we have more surface area and give ourselves more time to get the oxygen. So when the little pink ball gets to the top, we're going to begin. So follow along and do this with me. Relax. Get ready. And breathe in. And hold it. And exhale, nice and slow, all the way out. Breathe in. 4 and hold it. Gently. And breathe out, all the way out. Don't leave any stale air in your lungs. Breathe in. 4 and hold it. Then breathe out. Nice and slow all the way out. And that's it. That's all it takes. 3 deep breaths. And that only took just under a minute. Normally we breathe between 12 to 20 times per minute. And we breathe too shallow. We breathe rapid and shallow in our fast-paced lifestyles today. And it leaves us more physiologically susceptible to stress and anxiety. So a breathing exercise like this, or any other that you like, can help bring down your heart rate, bring down your blood pressure, and make you physiologically less susceptible to stress and anxiety. So thank you for doing that exercise with me. We do it before every lesson and stream because it's just that important. One of the simplest possible ways that you can use to reduce your stress and anxiety. Our upcoming schedule, it's because Silksong came out, we're going to be doing a lot of Silksong. We're going to be skonging. Next Tuesday and Friday will be Silksong, and next Saturday's lesson, we'll be talking about gambling. But gambling beyond the bet. We're going to be talking about other gambling behaviors that people engage in, say like gacha gaming. And Dragon confirmed that it is a mask of a Fortnite skin. That's fantastic. I got a Fortnite skin mask at Goodwill for $3. And of course, after our lesson today, we will be playing Silksong, Episode 2. But of course, it's time for our lesson. Time for our very special lesson this evening. And this lesson, of course, will be about mental health first aid. We're going to be talking about what to do when someone's not okay. As you might imagine, this is going to be a pretty serious episode. It's going to be a pretty serious topic. So once we begin, the redeems and alerts will be turned off, just so that we don't get distracted. You can, of course, still feel free to ask questions, give your feedback, but we'll keep things a little bit more serious this evening. Because, of course, September is National Suicide Prevention Month. We want to support that goal, and we want to equip ourselves with the skills and tools to help people. That's not what I'm supposed to look like. I should be here. There. Now there's two of me. That's okay, though. We're good. So yes, redeems and alerts will be off for the remainder of the lesson. So we'll begin with our little intro. Welcome, everyone. Welcome. Thank you so much for joining me this evening. My name is Mr. Aegis, and I will be your teacher for this session. I'm a health teacher in the real world. I stream indie games, classic games, and first-time playthroughs, and I give health and wellness lessons on the weekend, like this one. This is going to be a very special and very important one for National Suicide Prevention Month. We're going to be talking about mental health first aid, what you can do when someone around you is not okay. Because this will be a more serious lesson, redeems and alerts will be turned off, but feel free to continue to ask your questions and give feedback so that we can have a discussion about this very important topic. So you know about first aid. I'm sure you do. Some of you might even have certification in first aid. Well, regular first aid, it's what someone who isn't a medical professional, doctor, nurse, paramedic, what they can do in a medical emergency situation to help someone until more advanced care can arrive, if it's needed. Most people envision someone doing CPR on someone who's having a heart attack. A regular first aid covers everything from the Heimlich on someone choking to keeping pressure on a cut. You can get first aid certifications from the American Red Cross or the American Heart Association. Others exist all over the world, because the help that bystanders can offer in an emergency can be the difference between life and death for people every day. As a quick aside, if you have the options, you should get first aid certified. CPR can double or triple a person's odds of survival in a cardiac emergency. In the UK alone, tens of thousands of people die from instances where rapid first aid could have saved them. But over half of people say they wouldn't feel confident to even try to help. They wouldn't do anything but wait for an ambulance. And just like in regular first aid, mental health emergencies happen every day. So, what is mental health first aid? Mental health first aid are the things that you can do as an observer, a bystander, a friend, to help someone in a mental health challenge. You can take a mental health first aid course and get certification, like I've done. And this is information that I'll be presenting about today, along with the best practices that I know of that therapists and researchers currently talk about, and in my experience in education, for two particular kinds of mental health crises. So this is not a training course. I'm not here to give you the full training on the topic. I am going to present what are considered to be the best ways to help in these situations. Hopefully, give you the desire to continue learning more. As for the overview we will do today, we only have a brief time together, but that will be enough for some very important conversations. And that does require some disclaimer. I will advise you that there may be mental health talk that some may find triggering. I know that a lot of events and talk about mental health and mental health awareness is about positivity. And that's great, as well it should be. We want to promote and uplift our own mental well-being and that of those around us. But September is Suicide Prevention Month. Its purpose isn't just sunshine and rainbows. Awareness doesn't just mean knowing it exists or only caring about it during that week or that month. Awareness is work. It's an action, and it's the work of doing what we can to help. So many people speak of and think of mental health support in an abstract sense. They support people with mental illness as long as they can do it at a distance. People love and want to help those in distress. Not to get on my soapbox, but it's a broader societal problem of supporting things like the poor, the downtrodden, the sick, the oppressed, as long as we don't have to see them or be near them. We're not going to have that attitude here. So there may be some topics that you might not feel ready to talk about. I want you to know in advance that we will be discussing the topic of suicide, the symptoms people may exhibit in crisis, and other behaviors that you might find difficult to hear. If that isn't something you think you can do, I understand. For those who will watch and participate, I'm going to do this because it's important. I'm going to be very frank about it. I don't believe that tiptoeing around it is effective, and the people who could do this kind of research find that being upfront and direct is the best way to talk about it. So the two types of situations that we will be discussing are panic attacks, suicidal behavior. As I said, over half of people wouldn't feel confident enough to even try to help someone in a physical emergency. So people in a mental health emergency, they need that help just as much. And oftentimes, even fewer people are confident enough to try. If you're continuing, I appreciate your willingness to try. But as we could spend all day or even a week of lessons talking about every kind of situation we might find ourselves in, we're going to focus on just these two. One, because of how common it might be, and one, because of course it would probably be the most serious you might encounter. I will be asking for your thoughts and your feedback and your participation, so by all means, do. Because someone has to help, right? It can be very hard. Whether the emergency is physical or mental, you break out of inertia and help. Some of you might have seen this comic before, or you have seen ones like it, about the bystander effect. We all have our own things going on. There are other people who could probably help better. It's not really my business. Maybe it's not all that serious. Maybe they don't even want my help anyway, and what if I screw it up? And so on. The bystander effect, where we're less likely to help someone if we think others could. But this is how we know how important it is to learn at least a little about first aid and mental health first aid. Because the major factors in reducing the bystander effect include having some kind of training, feeling some level of confidence and familiarity with how to help. And it also helps when you know about this effect, when you've heard about it before, when you find yourself in a situation wondering if you should get involved, remembering, maybe I'm just falling prey to the bystander effect. And this is why I'm also going to ask you to really imagine yourself in the situations we're going to discuss. As we begin thinking about how we can help, we'll start by understanding what our role will be and what limitations there are on that role. Our goal is simply to preserve life first and foremost. If possible, to prevent the situation from worsening, and, when possible after, to promote the recovery and the resilience of others. Utopia Tree mentions that they fell and hurt themselves in the parking lot last week and nobody even bothered to ask if they were all right. Very likely their bystander effect. Most people do feel empathy with others and might ask if otherwise they weren't influenced by social ingrained beliefs and what they've been sort of socially conditioned to do, that others maybe don't even want their help. And if possible at the end, to identify and guide that person to resources if they need them. In order to do this, we need to be able to recognize the signs and symptoms of these situations and how we can offer that help. The limitations are that we are not doctors. We are not medical professionals. We're talking about lay bystanders who simply want to help in the way that we can. So, sticking with role and capacity, for the first part of this assessment, how many of you have had first aid class? How many of you have had any kind of first aid training before? Whether it was at school or at work, have you taken any CPR classes or first aid of any kind? You had a CPR class a few years ago? For those of you who had, you know that the first step, the most important thing to do first and foremost, to make sure that the scene is safe. To determine if the situation is too dangerous to approach. Iris was a lifeguard many years ago, so certainly would have had some kind of training, yes. If you aren't going to be able to, it was not a job for you. Raven, you got certified in freshman year of high school. Very good. I think that should be taught in schools. We always make sure the scene is safe because you aren't going to be able to help someone if you're hurt or if there's an imminent danger to the person. So in these situations, just as you would in a physical emergency, you need to know when it's best to contact emergency numbers. You need to know when you can help and when it's time to call for others' help. This can be very hard because in the context of mental health crises, often the first services to arrive are police. And the track record and training of police with people in mental health emergencies is disheartening at best. In some communities, though, there are special services, community organizations that may have emergency numbers to help. So it's a good idea to familiarize yourself with what kinds of resources might exist in your area. For example, in this county, they have a special crisis line for mental health emergencies. Here's an example where this county has a mental health crisis hotline it operates, where people can be connected to crisis intervention counselors and can have them dispatched to help. So familiarize yourself with these kinds of tools if these kinds of resources are available to you in your area. We'll start with the mental health first aid strategy, the framework. And this framework is called ALGEE, A-L-G-E-E. We love our acronyms. Where the first step is approaching, where we assess for the risk and we decide to approach. Move to listening in a compassionate, non-judgmental way. We provide them with reassurance and information, and if possible and appropriate, encourage them to find the appropriate professional help, find help for themselves or other support. That's the strategy, the framework that we'll be using for both of the situations we're about to talk about. And that first topic is one that some of us might be keenly familiar with, either for ourselves or for those around us. That is panic attacks. One that is unfortunately rather common. In fact, about 1 in 10 people will have a panic attack in their life, and 2 to 3% of people will be diagnosed with a panic disorder. So it's a situation we might very well find ourselves in. And there are some very helpful things that people can do to aid someone experiencing a panic attack. Recognizing one might be difficult from the outside because the symptoms may be all internal. And they may be very similar to a medical emergency. Someone might feel like they are in a physical medical emergency. Hyperventilation. Physical symptoms like sweating and chills, rapid, intense heart rate, fear and anxiety. Shaking, they might feel dizzy, out of focus. They might feel detached or numb. I'm very happy to do it, Calm Chaos Collective. And this fear is made very real by the physical reinforcement. The hyperventilation, the adrenaline, the pounding heart rate, dizziness, the rush of blood makes the fear seem very, very real. So these swirling, racing thoughts can become extremely difficult to get a handle on. Sometimes they stem from a particular trigger, something that has incited the thought, or something that has happened that has set off the panic attack, that sets it off in a spiral. Many times, though, there isn't anything the person can tell of that set it off. There is some evidence that there are subtle physiological changes in the hours leading up to a panic attack, mostly regarding CO2 and imbalanced respiration, and how the eventual hyperventilation becomes a reinforcing factor. So hopefully someone more clever than I am, finds a way to predict and prevent them in the future. But when you are talking to someone who is having a panic attack, you want to be able to be an anchor in what is a storm. So of course, assess to make sure that things are safe for you and for everyone around. When you approach, ask. Ask to help first. Ask if they could use some help. Don't just begin offering your assistance. Make sure to ask. See someone in class or at a party who seems to be exhibiting these symptoms, difficult as they can be to tell from the outside. It may be easier to know if you know them well, if you're friends. But ask. Even you came close to breaking down after finding out a loved one was on hospice, and no one noticed because it was all internal. Yes, that's not uncommon. You definitely may feel like, am I going crazy? That's not an uncommon thought. What's wrong with me? So ask. If they seem to be having trouble giving those answers, try to keep those questions as short and yes or no as you can. But ask calmly, not get overwhelmed yourself by trying to help. They may feel like they need space. You get away from people if there's a crowd, which can certainly be a situation where it's more likely a panic attack might occur. Crowds and a lot of activity, they can be a trigger for panic attacks, but they can happen in just about any situation. Second, if you are wondering how you can reach out and don't want to be a bother, if you are in a situation where you feel like you want to reach out, put aside any other concern. Your number one concern is to make sure that you're going to be okay. And you are. But if you're thinking about, do I need help? It's better to have it than not. And the people who care about you, the people around you, they're not going to find that to be a burden. Most of the time, in my experience, that person around you is going to feel, in some cases, honored that you would trust them, that you would think of them to be the person you go to for help. So give that person that space that they need. If there's a quieter space near, or if they just need to step outside, let them decide. Offer to sit down if they're standing, but accept their choice. Symptoms of a panic attack, again, can feel like the symptoms of a serious medical issue. They might be very afraid of what they're experiencing. They may want to seek medical attention. So this is a good time to remind you as well, a good time to think, to check if they have a medical alert bracelet or some indication of an existing medical issue. So talk calmly, but don't patronize. Short, calm sentences. Reassure them that you'll stick with them. Listen, pay attention. Let them know that you'll stay, that they're safe. Acknowledge that it's scary, but that they're safe. Accept their feelings because they feel very real. They aren't crazy. Many people who have panic attacks feel embarrassed, ashamed of it. Assure them that you understand that it's frightening, that it is scary. They're not crazy if they say something like that. And again, continue to ask how you can help. Let them guide that assistance. Most panic attacks will only last a few minutes. Those few minutes can feel like an eternity, but most panic attacks last maybe 10, 15 minutes. Sometimes longer, but usually no longer than that. They do subside. Reassure the person that you'll be there until it's over. Validate their feelings, let them describe it as much or as little as they want, but don't dwell on it. Thank you so much for the follow. I appreciate that. So let's go into do's and don'ts. Talked about some of the good things you can do, of course. Acknowledge that their experience is extremely scary, uncomfortable, stressful. Acknowledge that you know it feels very real. Give them the space that they need. And create space. That is, if there are other people around, other things around that might make them feel boxed in. And also, you might need to remove unhelpful persons. I don't mean physically. I mean, if someone around is being unhelpful or is a stressor, ask them to leave or to give space. Because other people may not have this information. They may not know. And they may very well be doing some of these don'ts we're about to talk about. Don't dismiss or ignore it. Absolutely don't panic yourself. But don't tell them not to panic. Don't tell the other person to not panic. I know you've seen that in media. How other people try to calm down someone who is panicking. It's almost always the exact opposite of what you should do. You're not there to criticize them for not being able to hold it together. And you're not there to pity them for being too weak to stop this. So don't talk too much yourself. Again, let them guide the conversation. You don't need to pressure them for info. And absolutely do not grab, hold, or touch the other person without their express permission. So a note about touch, since it's come up. There is some very good research about how powerful and helpful touch can be in a situation like this. However, it can also be detrimental. It can also be an additional stressor for the person. So ask, if you do feel like maybe it would be a good idea to give them a reassuring touch on the shoulder, a hug, ask first. Even if you know them. Because again, touch can be very calming. And in fact, there's some research and evidence about firm pressure. There's a reason why we give dogs those little pressure vests. People have used things like that too. Anxiety calming blankets. But it's different with a person. Your instinct may be to touch them, to embrace them. But even if you know the person, it may still not be appropriate. You can ask, but consider the fact that a person having a panic attack is very likely less able to make an informed choice. So keep that in mind. You're talking to someone at a vulnerable moment. This is actually important to keep in mind in any emergency situation. When you're engaged with someone in crisis, you're interacting with them at a vulnerable moment, perhaps the most vulnerable in their life. So you need to be thoughtful about your words and actions in the context of consent. Let's discuss something else we can do to try to help. The simplest things can be very helpful. Physical comfort. If it's hot, if it's cold, if it's windy, if it's bright, if it's loud, seeing if there's something you can do to help with their physical comfort. Water, of course, something to give them to think about other than their panicking thoughts, and because dehydration can be a contributing factor. Something to hold, something tangible in their hands may help. But consider the environment. Easy, simple things you can do to reduce their physical discomfort. And don't take things personally. They may say or do things that might try to push you away. They might be curt with you. Don't take it personally because it isn't personal. It isn't about you. We did a breathing practice at the beginning of this lesson, as we always do. And it was very brief and simple and easy, but you don't even need to do all that in order to help the situation. You don't need to go through our little spiel of the number of seconds we breathe in and out and how we do it. But we can encourage a change in breathing. Your only goal with this is to get it to be slower and more consistent. Beyond that, if possible, in through the nose and out through the mouth. Breathing can be a huge factor in a panic attack. It becomes its own vicious cycle. Shallow, rapid breathing keeps your chest feeling tight. It keeps your panic high. It feels like you're not getting enough air. It keeps your heart racing, keeps your adrenaline pumping. Something continues to feel wrong. So getting breathing under better control can be a major step towards shortening the panic attack. And your goal here is just to get their breathing to slow down, be more consistent, and if possible, in and out through the nose and mouth. The specific numbers are not that important. In fact, trying to get someone to count breaths or telling them about any specific breathing technique can just be overwhelming and even feel patronizing. And that's a big no in that do not do section of this topic. You only want to try to encourage slower, less shallow breathing. The specific breathing exercises can be incredibly helpful, but the guidelines and the feedback from people with panic disorders have suggested that trying to get someone to do that in the situation can do more harm than good, especially if they're not familiar with breathing exercises. Keep it simple and be a good example. Breathe slowly and evenly yourself, and keep an eye on their breathing. I want to make a note about the topic of grounding. Yes, can you breathe with me? Very simple question. Then they can just follow along with you. You don't need to teach them a breathing practice. They don't need to learn any specific technique. Grounding and focus exercises used to be a part of this kind of training and lesson. But more recent research suggests that it can be detrimental. So I'm only going to bring it up to mention if perhaps this is something you've done before, and also because it can be helpful for you to do. And these exercises can be useful in your daily life, but are not something that you should try to get someone else to do in the panic attack situation. Grounding exercises like this don't seem to be recommended anymore in these situations, but like I said, might be helpful for you. Because these exercises can help tune out distractions that are external and can distract you, though, from internal issues. It shifts things from the unreal to the real. And what I mean by that is it takes focus away from the unreal things that are happening in your head, the intense fear and anxiety that isn't rooted in anything that's actually physically happening, to things that are real, things you can actually see and feel, things you can actually touch and taste and smell. It gives you a sense of mastery and self-control. So you might be familiar with things like the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 exercise, or the sensory exercises, where you say 5 things you can see and you name them, say them out loud. Name 4 things you can feel, like the temperature of the air, clothes on your skin, the seat, the pressure of the seat underneath you, be whatever thing you're holding in your hands. Then you name 3 things that you can hear. Ticking of the clock on the wall, the hum of the air conditioner. 2 things you can smell, and 1 thing you can taste. This kind of grounding technique can get you more focused on your senses, that self-control, that mastery, being more in control of your body. And this used to be a part of the response to panic attacks, but I can understand that it's no longer a part of it. Or even you always color when you're stressed or panicked. That is something that can work for people. You do get yourself focused on something else, and it is a sensory exercise as well, both touch and sight. Yes, even something as simple as a sensory object. We talked about having something to hold and look at, just feeling and seeing it. Yeah, you don't need to go through an exercise like this. You can incorporate it into your response very simply, giving them something to hold. That water bottle. So we're going to do a demonstration. We're going to demonstrate this. Be a squishy stuffed animal. Yes, Rao. We're going to demonstrate some of these skills, the approach. We're going to put it all together, do a little role play. I will be our acquaintance. Little drink here. So, like I said, I want you to really do these exercises. Follow along and practice. This is your opportunity to practice this response, because you don't want the first time you do these things to be an actual crisis situation. So, I'm going to change my outfit to indicate I am playing our acquaintance. We're in the halls at school. The end of the first semester. Grades have just been posted. Students are milling about the halls. Encounter me, lingering by a door. We know each other a little from class. We're friendly. You can tell something's bothering me. We're going to take our first break, though, before we begin. Give you time to think about it. I am very grateful for any help that you could provide me with this minor inconvenience, Mr. Everard Clare.
Are you all right, Harry? You seem anxious. Don't be.
Oh, my name is Harry Dubois. I don't like that. Harry D's balls. You're speaking French. Bring your troops to the Seaman Islands and boogie down on the boogie street. Shake her hand, sure. Her grip is cold and tight. Yeah, I bet she grips real tight. I could help by brutally dismantling the free market. Such a good trooper you are, already learning the value of hard work.
I'm happy to help Mom out with the store.
Oh, she seems super nice. Sucks that she has to live in this world. But I mean, sucks that I have to live in this world.
We have almost no government of our own, and certainly no dictatorship of the proletariat.
Damn, that really does suck. And we're French. Royal Canadian Mounties in France? God. We have Mounties and they're French? These people have suffered enough. There's something you can't get out of your head. Ras Mazov, the father of scientific communism, the premier of the Communist Party of Shestengrad during the Anticentennial Revolution, head of the 11-day government, sideburn-toting, bearded figurehead. I am very grateful for any help that you could provide me with this minor inconvenience, Mr. Everard Clare.
Are you all right, Harry? You seem anxious.
Sorry about the technical delay. Of course, the ad break would happen right before we're about to do our demonstration. Still says 30 seconds. Sometimes it's not accurate. But all right, if we're back. So, now that we've discussed the skills, approach, put it all together, demonstrate this role-play exercise. In the halls at school, end of the first semester, have just been posted. Students are milling about in the busy hallway. Encounter me by the door, bring outside. We know each other a little bit from class. Friendly. I can tell that something is bothering me. In my mind, I've just seen the first term grades. They're not great. I was already worried. Anticipation of that first grading period was rough. Now it's there in black and white. I just started. Now I'm already behind. I don't know if I can do this. Maybe it was just a mistake to come here. Maybe I'm not cut out for this. My parents spent all this money already. Already screwed it all up. Everyone else has everything going for them. Just seem to manage just fine. Why am I so stupid? I'm going to lose my scholarship. I'm going to end up having to move back in with my dad. My boyfriend's going to break up with me. Fuck. Oh my God. Oh my God. So, what do you do? How do you approach? Think about it. Write it out in the chat. Say it out loud. I'll give you a moment. What do you do now that you've encountered this person and you're pretty sure that they're experiencing a panic attack? Actually say the words out loud. Kind of approach statements that we were talking about before. You've encountered this person. Tell that they're distressed by the things that they've said, by how they're behaving. You've clearly noticed the way I was breathing. Rapid and shallow. Very simply, Empress puts it. Are you okay? Do you need help? Ask if they're doing okay. Opened the door, given them the possibility of giving you information. Approach calmly, make sure to get their attention in doing so. It's their attention in the present reality, not those racing thoughts that I was demonstrating. Okay. You've approached me and I don't know. I'm having an asthma attack. Oh my God, I just can't think. What might you offer first? Think about the situation. Think about our environment. Those simple things that we were first discussing. simple starters for what we might be able to do. Very busy hallway. Again, yes, confirming the experience is real. Going to the validating the feelings. Bao talks about staying focused themselves and modeling calm breathing. I'd ask if they would like to get out of the hallway, around all those busy people, the big crowd, the wall of grades that they were looking at. Yes, invite them to a calmer space. Thank you for bringing your class on a field trip to mine. Marcus the Red Panda, a good friend of the channel, our little classroom. We're discussing mental health first aid, how we can help people who are experiencing a panic attack. Just demonstrated someone having a panic attack, and we had the class going through what they can do, validating the person's feelings, their experience, that what they're going through is scary, that it feels very real. Asking them if there's a more comfortable space they could move to. They'd like to get out of that busy hallway we were in. What you say about the breathing, besides just modeling it yourself. A great approach someone mentioned earlier. Saying, you breathe with me as you model. Through the nose, out through the mouth. Ren points out, never leave the individual's side. That was one of our first main points, yes. Reassure the person that what they're going through does feel very real. Validate their experience that you know that it is scary, but that it will pass and that you are there, that you will stay with them through the entire thing. Because, as we talked about, most panic attacks do subside within 10 to 15 minutes at most. That time can feel like an eternity to the person experiencing it. So your presence can help. Nothing complicated that you need to do. Approach them calmly, reassuringly. Ask if you can help. Ask if there is something you can do to improve their physical comfort. Said if it's too busy around them, if it's too bright or hot or cold, too loud. Reassure them that you are there, that you will stay with them. Model good breathing. Don't pressure them about their breathing exercise or try to get them to do any particular exercise, but if you can, encourage them to breathe more deeply and consistently, or slowly. Exactly. Do what Ren said. Never leave the individual's side. So what do we do afterwards? After this storm? In the aftermath of a panic attack, common symptoms are fatigue. And it can be a very profound fatigue. The person can be very tired, sometimes even feel sleepy. They might feel thirsty too. Sometimes they're even sore. Might have a sore jaw from clenching their jaw. That's not uncommon. Minor body aches and pains. Some people might even be hungry as they come down from this adrenaline dump. Some people, anecdotally, who have panic attacks find that a snack after can be helpful, especially complex carbs that might boost serotonin and contribute to calm, so fruits, nuts, grains, electrolytes. But of course, you don't want to be advising anything in particular because if you don't know them, you don't know their potential food allergies. All of that, of course, is above and beyond what you would need to do in the situation. But you can always ask how they're feeling. How are you feeling now? If they mention that they're tired or hungry. But avoid saying anything about medicine. And I mean, don't even recommend aspirin or ibuprofen or anything else. Because again, we are lay people who are doing what we can to help. Not professionals. We're not doctors or nurses, first responders. You don't know their medical history. You don't know what other medications they might be taking. So you are not the person to suggest any kind of medication or aspirin. You can bring up then resources and help them find or guide them to resources if they are interested to help prevent future attacks, to get medical assistance. But unless they specify that they'd like that kind of info, it can come off patronizing. They probably do want to know or want to know what to do to make sure this never happens again. Maybe they have wanted to for some time and they just don't have the health care. But in your conversation with them, after they start to feel better, you can ask if they've talked to their doctor about this before, if they've experienced this before. In this example, we were in the college hallways. Many colleges would have campus services, community groups, breathing practices and activities, counselors at the school that might be available. You could help them find them, get in touch with them. Maybe you could even offer to walk me over to their office. But again, understand your role in this. Lastly, though, panic attacks are rarely dangerous. But that doesn't mean you won't need help. If the person's symptoms don't subside after a half hour, it might be necessary. Because, as we've mentioned a few times, most pass within 10 to 15 minutes. If it continues, if it persists, then additional help might be necessary. Not even necessarily because it is dangerous, but just to err on the side of caution. If the person begins feeling faint, or they aren't able to respond to you anymore, there's another sign that you should probably get additional help. If they notice that their heartbeat has become irregular or continues to beat out of control despite working on their breathing, might be time to get some help. And of course, anytime they ask, if they say they want medical help, if they say they need to go to a doctor, then it is your imperative to do so, to get them that help. When you decide that it is time to get additional help, act with intention. Once you've made that choice, carry it out effective immediately. Yes, as Rao says, you're doing first aid, not primary care. That first aid went all the way back to that first slide. First aid itself can save hundreds of thousands of lives. So we'll pause right here for your questions, for your thoughts. You did a great job, so take a deep breath yourself. Refresh yourself. What are your thoughts or questions about the first of our 2 segments? We'll say that when you are having the conversation with the person and trying to continue talking to them, you can ask them things like, has this happened before? Sometimes it's the first time a person's had a panic attack. Sometimes it's not. If they have, then you can ask them what helped. If they've had the experience before, they might already know the things that are going to help them. Yes, as Ren says, make it a point of emphasis that you don't leave that person's side. You're there from start to finish. If you've made the choice to get involved and to help this person, you need to see it through. It's not the first time they've had a panic attack. They may know some things that have helped. A little bit of an exit interview, yes. Maybe that will remind them, gosh, that actually helped me rent it last time. What was I doing differently? And if you're able to ask them if it's happened before while they're having the panic attack, that can also remind them it passed last time. It didn't last forever previously. Of course, it ended. That is one of the biggest fears during a panic attack. Why it feels so much like a medical emergency. It can feel like you're dying. You did a great job, class. Indeed, Ren, we touched on grounding techniques earlier here, and I do want to touch on that again, so thank you. Grounding and focus exercises, as we mentioned, they can be excellent ways to shorten a panic attack for yourself, and they are good exercises to do regularly, but they are, since 2022, and the mental health first aid guidelines were updated, it is not recommended to try to implement them with the person during the panic attack. It can be overstimulating, it can be difficult for the person to follow. You can show the person these kinds of techniques when you're talking to them after it's passed, if you're helping guide them to resources. Currently not recommended to try to do while they're in that actual panic attack situation. Something to keep in mind for yourself and for the after period. But they can be very powerful and helpful in, like we said, tuning out those distractions, shifting from the unreal, abstract fears and panic into the things that are real, that they can touch and taste and smell Those 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 types of exercises. Something to take with you and keep in mind. I want you to take another couple deep breaths because you did a great job on this first segment, and we're going to go into the next one. First segment, panic attack, might be the most common one you might encounter. And next, we're going to talk about what would be the most serious one. Second of the two topics we're going to discuss is suicide. Not going to spend a lot of time on disheartening statistics, any reasons that we know of, especially right now. Interests of time, we're going to focus more narrowly on the signs and symptoms that are often displayed, how to approach, what you might be able to do to help them in the immediate term. Could spend a whole semester talking about the topic, but let's get down to what we can do in that short term if we believe someone might be struggling with suicidal thoughts. According to 988 Lifeline, for every one person who does die by suicide every year, 316 people seriously consider it, but do not do so. Don't know if that one person you think might be experiencing those feelings be that one person out of 316. You might be the lifeline. Reagan asks if someone you know is experiencing these things and you don't feel like you yourself can deal with it. Well, I'm going to mention some specific hotlines that are actually available for you as the potential responder, because some of these hotlines, some of these websites as well, they offer help to the friend, to the family member, what you can do, what resources you can go to. There are people who can actually talk you through how to help in the moment. Because as we did discuss at the top, when an emergency situation happens and emergency services are called, first people to show up are often the police, and that may not be the best option. So again, important, as we mentioned at the top, to see if your community also has alternative resources. Mental health emergency resources. Some counties, some cities, they have specific trained response teams, counselors that can be dispatched to mental health emergency situations. So a very good idea in advance, maybe tonight, maybe tomorrow, for you to search. Do an internet search and see if your county, your area, your region has a mental health emergency response line. It is unfortunate that we don't have a national system of this, but you might have resources available to you that you don't even know about. There are many possible risk factors for someone who might be considering suicide. And we could spend all day talking about it, but we'll just touch on the ones that might give us, the person who is potentially observing it, some insight. Some people think that a strong sign is whether or not someone has an existing or diagnosed mental health condition. But over half of the people who attempt suicide have never had a mental health diagnosis. aren't going to know whether a person is struggling or not based on whether they have a mental health condition. Situations, life circumstances that can be factors are a recent traumatic event, worsening substance use issues. Someone has had a recent change in their health or in their relationship, something in their family, work, or financial situation. They're simply things to keep in mind as a part of the possible signs. We're going to focus on 3 areas here: behaviors, words, and feelings. These are the 3 key areas to look for. The first of the signs we'll be looking for are behaviors, because these are things that will be observable, things that we can see, things that will be difficult to deny. A dramatic mood change. I have diminished hygiene. They aren't taking care of themselves the way they used to. Notice that their patterns of sleep are disrupted, that they are not eating at the same time or same things or as often. Of course, we would dissociate withdrawal and socially isolating themselves with this. They may also have reckless behavior, things that might be very different from their usual personality. That lack of interest, that withdrawal, all those other changes can lead to a lack of performance in their job, school. Might lose interest in the things that they used to enjoy doing, be very restless, begin moving noticeably slower than usual. Things that you can observe if you're watching carefully. The most serious and maybe most telling are the giving away of possessions. Giving things of theirs away, seemingly out of nowhere, especially things that have meaning to them. And if you're noticing any of these other behaviors, and then you notice a sudden calm, that can be a very strong sign. Sudden calm, because that might indicate that they have made a decision. Second set is feelings. These are things that will be more difficult to get because you'll have to infer them. But there are things that I think we are pretty strongly associating with someone who might be feeling these kinds of thoughts. Sense of hopelessness or worthlessness. They may feel very embarrassed, guilty, ashamed that they would have these kinds of thoughts. They feel trapped in the situation they're in. They feel frequently agitated, sense of emptiness. These are difficult to see yourself because they're feelings internal to the person. You have to infer them. But these may come out in that third section. Words. Paying close attention to what they say. These things that you've heard are also going to be strong indicators. The things that are observable, things that would be hard to deny. The person talks about things like, they don't have a future, wishing that they hadn't been born or that they could go to sleep and not wake up. They talk about feeling like a burden to others or that they are a mistake. Not that they made mistakes, but that they're a mistake. Being a failure, that they're weak or useless. Some of these you might have heard of in suicide prevention or mental health discussions. There's a reason for that. Two of the most powerful indicators in terms of words. You hear them saying things like, "If I see you again." Or if they say things like, "I'd be better off," or "everyone else would be better off." Those can come from a place of feeling like they need to make a decision. So, the approach. How could we possibly broach this conversation? How could we possibly approach this person if we've noticed these kinds of signs? We're concerned about them. And if you've gotten to that point where you're worried about this person, you're thinking about them, worried that they might be considering suicide, it's already gotten to you, and you're concerned enough, then it may have been going on for some time. So that said, how to do the approach? Just don't wait. Don't wait to think of just the right thing to say or just the right moment. Just start the conversation. Can we talk? I'd like to talk. Sure, it would be ideal to have this conversation in a comfortable and quiet, private place, but start the conversation. How do we have this talk? Well, I'll model one real quick here. Notice that you've been keeping to yourself a lot lately. You haven't been in class much since the party. Like you haven't been eating much. Concerned about you. Tell me what's going on. I noticed that. It seems like. Open-ended, but factual. Not making assumptions about what they're feeling, but these are observable things that reflect what those feelings likely are. Now, of course, one of the things people who are experiencing suicidal ideation might do is reject the possibility of having this conversation. Many people feel self-loathing and shame about this. They didn't want the attention. But for many, it's that they reject the notion of positive attention. The kind of attempts to cheer someone up that they might be getting, and they feel they don't deserve. But in many of those cases, we do want attention as people. They want someone to notice their suffering. They just want genuine attention. That's why it's so effective to do what we're about to talk about. If they are open to talking, let them talk. You open the door with the things that you've observed. And now you can, if they want to, if they wish, talk to you about what they're feeling that led to you seeing those signs. Seems obvious, but remain calm, but empathetic. They might be about to talk about some very heavy, painful things. It might be hard to find a balance between staying calm and showing that you care. This goes along with being objective without seeming too distant. It's challenging, yes, but nobody said this would be easy. Patient, unjudgmental. You might be anxious to get to what you think is the meat of the matter, the heart of the issue. But let them talk about this. It's likely that they've been holding on to it for a long time. Remember that it's not personal. Set aside your own thoughts, beliefs, opinions about suicide. Because when it comes to that main objective, the reason you started this conversation, if they haven't brought this up, then it's up to you. What I'm about to say, this question, a lot of people think this is the wrong question to ask, that it's the wrong thing to say. But what has been found, it is borne out in studies by experts, that this is the question to ask. Are you thinking about killing yourself? Are you thinking about suicide? This is the question. Not asking this, frankly, is more troublesome. Are you thinking about suicide? This does not plant a seed, does not give someone the idea, as many people presume. Most of the people who have been experiencing suicidal ideation have been thinking about it for a long time. In some cases, they may be taken aback by how long that it's been happening. Someone has noticed. Someone is acknowledging them. That is beneficial. The shame that they've been feeling about having these thoughts is now given an outlet. You've given them permission to talk about it with you. To be honest, in a way they may have not felt comfortable doing even with their therapist if they've already been seeing one. Say the word without any tone of dread or stigma. Someone who knows them has broached the subject. Let them talk about it. Often there is a sense of relief that they have been acknowledged. Now they have the chance to say all these things they've wanted to say. If they have not been thinking about suicide or about killing themselves, you didn't plant the seed. But it's still important to have the conversation, to continue talking. You had those concerns for a reason. You want to understand why. There isn't a risk of suicide. That's fantastic. But keep encouraging them to get additional help. Let them get it off their chest. Let them vent. Confirm what they're saying. Make it clear that you're listening and that they're being heard. Ask them what they need. That is, how you can provide help, without making presumptions about what that might be. Let them make the suggestions if they can think of anything. It may end up just being that you're having a talk with them, and that's great. But you had those concerns for a reason. They were exhibiting signs of serious depression. It'd be appropriate for you to suggest that they try to find, maybe with your help, maybe if they want, some more concerted, longer-term help. If you're in that kind of state, it can be very hard to make yourself go through the steps, looking for resources in your area, making an appointment, thinking about what you want to say. Those are tangible efforts that you can offer to help with. Keep your body language open. Allow for silences. You don't need to fill in the gaps of empty air. You don't need to fill the silence. For example, then, so sorry you've been in this much pain. I can tell how much it's been hurting you. Said you've been feeling very empty ever since what happened that night. Got to be very confusing. Not an expert, but know things can get better, that it's not your fault. Really want to help. I'd be happy to help you find some resources, figure out what's going on. To say to him. Don't need to overcomplicate things. Of course, might have been thinking about it. So when you are having that conversation, don't want to argue or debate with them. Don't want to use any kind of guilt that you're going to ruin your family's life. I want to guilt them about how anyone else has it worse, or that they've got so much going for them. Don't want to be glib, the kind of attention they've probably been getting already. Don't worry, just cheer up. Everything will be fine. I also want to make sure that you aren't treating it with any kind of stigma. Saying commit suicide. Talk about failed suicides, like it will be terrible if it's a failed suicide. Like it would be better if it was successful. Don't use any slang. I don't want to get into that, but don't use slang. Use the word. Don't interrupt. Don't make it about you. Remember your role. You're not trying to diagnose. You're just trying to help. If they have been thinking about suicide, they indicate that they have been thinking about it. Want to calmly and openly, without reacting with shock, ask them for more information. Don't react with shock or horror that they've been thinking about it. Of course, when you ask that question, you're hoping that they say no. But if they say yes, you need to ask some very important follow-up questions. Ask them if they've thought about how they would do it. Again, this follows up with the main question, and people feel like, and they have this instinct that if I ask them these questions, it will plant the seed, or that it's just so difficult to ask, but you have to. Are you thinking about killing yourself? Thought about how you would do it. It seems like I wouldn't ask that. Wouldn't that make it more likely? Again, the research, the experts make that very clear. It is the opposite. Trying to beat around the bush, trying to ask it lightly, needs to be asked very frankly and upfront, without any stigma, without any judgment. Ask them if they've thought about when, very particularly if they've started making any plans, they've started getting things together to do it. This can be exceptionally hard to do, but you need to know. Because if the answer to any of these questions is yes, that person is at great risk. It's crucial at that stage. Connect them with help, whether that's a crisis hotline, whether that's a medical care center or emergency care, whether that's getting them to a counselor. There's a reason you had your concerns, reason you ask these questions. Yes, small water dragon goddess. Yes, that's the reasons that people feel that way, to escape from situations they feel trapped in. Very important to ask these questions because not only does it show how much you care, but it gives you crucial information about what to do next. You're still talking with them as you ask these questions. It doesn't need to be rapid fire, one after the other. Still having a conversation with them, this acquaintance, this friend, this loved one. As you're working towards getting those answers, remind them suicidal thoughts are not a failing. Not their fault that these thoughts have happened. They're not uncommon. They're not crazy. Help does exist. Just having those thoughts doesn't mean they have to be acted on. So to put it together, have you been thinking about suicide? Thought about how you would do it? Tell me. Started making plans? Getting things ready? Thoughts aren't some kind of weakness. You're not weak. You don't have to act on them. They're a symptom. Things that can help. It's not uncommon. I want to help because I noticed. Concerned about you. Matter to me. I know that things can change. Of course, there are very obviously things that you don't want to do or say. Because you want to and you need a level of trust to get them to accept your help. Talked about guilt or threats or being glib, like it's a phase or you'll get over it. Sure that you're not distracted, that your focus is 100% on this. Don't compare it to anyone else, especially yourself. And definitely, don't tell them how to deal with it. Don't tell them that they would feel better if they meditated or if they started walking in the mornings. Again, you're not there to diagnose or to give a prescription for better mental health. You can have those kinds of conversations later. Right now, your goal is to determine if a person is at risk for suicide, try to get them the help that they need. This flowchart that is used in mental health first aid starts with that question. That big question we ask if a person is considering suicide. Starting here at the top. If those questions are answered yes, you ask those follow-ups. Have been thinking about it. How in depth have they been thinking about it? If they have been thinking about how or when, getting things together, that person is at serious risk for suicide. That is the moment to call emergency services, mental health crisis professionals, to get that person to the appropriate professional help. There are mental health crisis professionals available to you. You do know, and you should at that point know, the lifelines, the hotlines that are available. That's the time when you get connected to them. At least starting off with bringing in a professional on a hotline, on a lifeline. Because that person will have more resources that they can direct you to. Another question you can ask, that you can check. Think about, do they have anything harmful with them? Have something on them that they could hurt themselves with? And ask for it. I hold on to that, please. Hold that for you. It's very important not to be distracted. Be watching. It can feel daunting or even counterintuitive to involve emergency services. Think it's just going to make it more complicated. It's just going to make them freak out. But it's imperative that at least someone with more training gets involved. Yes, Dragon, social worker, if you have access to those people in your lives, if you know of a counselor, if you know of a social worker, especially if you can get them involved at the outset. Notice this about someone you know, and bring that person in to help you, or ask them for guidance. And reach out yourself if you need it to those hotlines, to those lifelines. If the risk of suicide exists, someone with greater training needs to get involved. The person in themselves might be very resistant to getting help. They might not want to talk to someone else. You can definitely offer the alternative of going with them to the hospital. Ask them if they haven't already talked about it, if they have a therapist, if you can take them to their clinic or their doctor. You're there as the stopgap, as the first aid. As resistant to the idea as they might be, you can offer them the choice. But these choices all have to involve connecting them with someone else. Ren has said before, don't leave them alone. This was important for Panic Attack, even more important here. You don't leave them alone. And another important fact, you don't keep it a secret. They might ask you to keep it between you. They might ask you to keep this a secret, or that they'll get help. Just don't tell anybody else. I don't want anyone else to know. Can't keep that to yourself. It's too important. Nobody else who doesn't need to get involved will get involved, but you can't keep that to yourself. Give them input. Let them be proactive, but you need to be proactive yourself. Whether that is getting them to their doctor or to a hospital, which then bypasses emergency response units, calling the 988 crisis line, which is 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, confidential, as English and Spanish speaking operators. Your local hotlines, like we talked about, that your county might have crisis counselors available. Or if necessary, 911. What do you say if they ask you to keep them secret? Water Dragon Goddess. That was probably a very powerful indicator to them that you were at risk. Kinds of words. Dragon, what do you do if they want to keep it a secret? Care about them too much to keep it between just you two. Nobody else who doesn't need to know will ever know, but you need to get some extra help. Concerned about you. It's important that we get you connected with someone who can help you more. Mentioned you haven't had an appointment with your therapist recently. I can drive us there, or we can just stay here. I'll call the county line. Someone will come talk to us. Or I can call the hotline. You can talk to the counselor. I'll be right here the whole time. What would you like to do most? Give them options. Make them a part of the decision. But a decision does need to be made. You're there as the stopgap and you're doing a great job. But part of your job is to get someone involved who has more advanced training. Leave them alone through this process. Get a secret. I care about you too much to do that. You need help, and I'm here to get you that help. No one who doesn't need to know, but someone does need to. They might be angry with you. If that's the worst thing that comes out of it, then it's the right outcome. Emergency services like 911 might be the best option in the end. Their life is the priority. If that is necessary, ask for a psychiatric evaluation team. Let the operator know what you know about the situation. Always, as Ren says, clarify that the individual has options and that you can do them together. They are not alone. You're there. And there isn't just one path. They are not trapped. One of those options will be the one that's more palatable to them. Maybe it is driving to the doctor, where you can be with them the whole time. Reagan mentions they were talking to people that they thought were going through crisis and were able to call over their mom, who's a social worker, to get some advice. So now let's put it all together. We're going to do another demonstration. I want you to think very carefully about this demonstration. Like with the panic attack demonstration, I want you actually think, act as if it were a real situation. Been at this for another hour, and as we know, as a health class, as a health teacher, we should be moving around, if we can, every hour. The blood flowing. So I want you to move around a bit. Been sitting for a while, so use the restroom, wash your hands, get some water. 180 seconds, just 3 minutes. We'll be right back so that we can do this demonstration. This is very important. I'm going to give you the chance. And if you're injured, wheel yourself around or someone bring you some water. But don't sit around too much. We will be right back. So let's let the ad run for the 3 minutes, and we'll be back after that. Thank you for staying around through the break, class. All right. So, we're going to do our demonstration. Our scenario here, yours. You'll fill in the blanks. In your mind, consider interacting with someone you know. Think about what you've observed, factors, signs, behaviors, feelings, words that made you concerned about the risk for suicide. Now, you're together. As you do this, I want you to say the words out loud, if you can, or at least in your head if there are others around, but say them. Say what you would say. Ask the person you're envisioning if you can talk. And remember how you would tell them what you've been noticing. Say it out loud now. Talk. Think of the scenario and say out loud, like I did earlier. Noticed you've been withdrawn lately. Haven't been eating much. Haven't seen you book club since the party. Concerned about you. Tell me what's going on. Finished doing that, giving yourself that practice. Thought about what you'd say. After you do the question first, can we talk? What you've observed, signs and the factors. Behaviors, drawn, words they've said. Say the other day you were feeling worthless. Now I want you to ask the question. I want you to ask it out loud. I want you to say it. It's difficult, but it's all the more important to do it now, so that when you are in a crisis, that's not the first time you've ever said it. Let me know you said that out loud. Very good. Exactly what I wanted you to do, Rao. Have you been thinking about killing? Considering suicide? I guess I have, yeah. I mean, I've thought about it a little. Everybody does, right? Now I want you to ask out loud first 2 follow-ups. This can be just as hard, but I want you to do it out loud. How? Know when you've done that. Follow-ups can be just as hard. They give you crucial information. Well, I figured I'd do it after the semester, you know. Everyone would be on vacation. Probably wouldn't even notice I'm gone, you know. I don't know, I guess I just want to not wake up, I guess. Much of a pussy to do it any other way, so I mean, if I was going to, I would have just my Ambien prescription. So now, out loud, ask the follow-ups. Perhaps even more crucial information for you to have. You've asked those follow-ups. I mean, I guess I wrote down what they should do with my stuff, I guess. Wanted you to have my sketchbook, actually. Have it set out. Where are we now? What did that last statement at the very end sound like? Good, yes. Giving up personal belongings. Mention that there's preparation already underway. The very end there, it was almost like I was surprised how far along it had gotten. So take a moment and maybe type out 1 or 2 things you might say here to this person to reassure them, assuage their guilt, show them that you care about them. We aren't just there to push them into the help. We are there to make sure that they know that they are cared about. People care enough about them, want them to be helped. So now we know where we stand. So it's time to bring in help. So tell me, out loud to me, and type it out if you'd like, how you would bring up the need to get extra help, how you would bring up our options. What options might you provide? Talk about getting in touch with a crisis counselor, getting to a hotline, driving to the doctor on campus. Maybe we can go to the campus clinic. Counselors that we can go to. It can be very hard to bring up the options. You want to be careful how you word it. Emphasizing that you'll be there, that you'll go with them. I'll talk to a counselor with you. I'll drive you to the hospital. I'll go with you. Not, do you want help, Dragon? Now we're at the stage, like in the panic attack, where we're asking what we might be able to do to help. Now we need to get them help. We can make sure that they have agency in what that help is, how we get them to it, but it does need to happen. I mean, I guess we can walk over to the clinic. Couldn't make it any worse, I guess. I'll talk to the counselor. Yeah, I guess I can talk to the hotline. Make it any worse? Of course, this is a very easy version of this scenario and very generic. But a key takeaway here is that I wanted you to say those things out loud. For those who did, for those who ran through that scenario in their head, I appreciate it. It means that you took this seriously. Because it might be someone you love and care about that needs this help. I want you to take a few Did a great job. Very difficult stuff to talk about. Did it. You can get mental health first aid certification. Groups like mentalhealthfirstaid.org. You can get people help if they're in distress. 988lifeline.org. Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Association has free treatment referral and information for yourself and for others. National Alliance on Mental Illness has very helpful guides for helping other people out. Trevor Project. Of course, as we've talked about, checking in your area what additional resources might be available. National Alliance Mental Illness Helpline, 24/7 for the 988 Lifeline, National Alliance on Mental Illness, Monday through Friday. The Hope Line, you can text 741-741. It will connect you with a trained counselor for just about any issue. Sometimes cities, municipalities might have their own mental health services. Looked up a random state. Look for county helplines, mental health crisis lines. You can also find some states have anonymous tip lines. If you aren't sure how to help someone, maybe you don't know that person at all, and they may be experiencing or exhibiting signs of suicidal behavior. There are resources available and people who care, and if you care enough about someone, to offer them help, you should know there are also other people who would care. Whichever service you get involved, again, someone with more advanced training does need to get involved if those signs indicate that there is a risk for suicide. So let's open it up for your questions. What other feedback do you have? What other thoughts did you want to talk about? As we continue to support Suicide Prevention Month, hello, Yuma. Hello. Great to see you. Yeah, we can't just glue someone in place. So what's the recourse if this conversation is them, I'm out, and the person bails? Your task then is to determine how close were they? How much of those signs and symptoms did you have to indicate the person was at risk? Because if they are at risk, you just weren't able to get their confirmation of that by asking those questions, you can't just leave them alone. You had those concerns for a reason. And if they're bailing on even the thought of talking about it, signs are pretty good that they are. So then it might be on you to reach out to those helplines and ask them, tell them, someone I believe considering suicide. Yes, I could certainly do that. I might be interested in doing that for this month. And Rain, as Empress asks, Rape, Abuse, and Incest National Network does have hotlines for sexual assault and people in crisis. It's not necessarily a suicide prevention hotline. Certainly a resource if that is a source of the trauma. So yes, if there are specific concerns, if there's a specific source of that person's issues, then you can also have those sources available to you. We talked about how a recent medical emergency might be the reason someone is having those thoughts, or a family issue, recent financial issues. But of course, your first and primary responsibility is to preserve life. Yes, certainly autism is considered a part of mental health. And there are specific, unique concerns to people who have autism. Nothing beats a real scenario, as Loresno says. Why you want your practice to be as realistic as possible. Yes, indeed, Yuma. I have finally remembered how to transform to a somewhat human being. Here I am. I will be able to retransform back into my badger form soon enough, and then you will all have the opportunity to choose which form I take with your gold stars. We don't have any additional questions. I think you have all done an incredible job of following along and actually engaging, doing this practice, taking this opportunity. Because, as we've said a few times, you don't want the first time you say those words to be in the crisis. You've at least now said them out loud, even if it was just to yourself, to ask someone, have you been thinking about suicide? Thinking about when? I want to remove that shock value. Some of these things you can't prepare for. can't prepare for the answer. When you ask that question, it might be hard to hide the shock that you have when they say, yes, I have. Yeah, the Kitty Genovese case, the paper at the time, I don't remember which paper did come out and say they had exaggerated it. People heard what was happening, but they had not seen it. So you did a great job, class. I'm very proud of you all for your participation, your active engagement. I know that this was a very heavy topic, but this was much more serious than some of the other subjects we've gone over. So if you have feedback, I'd be happy to hear it, either here or in the Discord, wherever you might want to message me. Always looking for ways that I can improve our lessons and maybe talk about other situations. If there are other types of mental health crisis that we might want to cover. If it was too heavy, if it was not direct enough, maybe more demonstration. Not the easiest lesson to deliver for myself. I want to do too much of the role play demonstration and get myself worked up. But I'm glad we were able to have this time together to do this lesson. So, I think now we can relax. We can do something different. Let's blow off some steam. Just have some fun. Let's play a game. Did you hear that Silksong came out? Did you know that Hornet came out? So we're going to go into Farloom, and we're going to play our second episode of Silksong. Yes, Loresno, I agree. A lot of people aren't comfortable having these conversations, and a lot of the conversation about mental health in awareness months and weeks that, like I said at the top, it's about positivity, and that's great. Or there's a lot of abstract support, people saying they support mental health, they support men's mental health, they support women's mental health, they support LGBT mental health, they support people with autism, they support people with disabilities. A lot of people say these things, but they only say it words, and they only mean it in the abstract. Support mental health efforts as long as they don't have to be near someone who's having a crisis. As long as they don't have to do any work. As long as it's someone else. Support the poor and the downtrodden, the oppressed. As long as it's happening somewhere else. It can happen to you. It can happen to someone you care about. Even if it's not someone you know or care about, that person is still important. It does, Loresno, take courage. Real courage. Like the discussion going around on social media lately about how someone would kill 1,000 people to protect their family, but they won't even go to therapy to protect their family. They won't even support their family member who's going through a crisis. They won't help their neighbor who's struggling with something. A lot of people are fake heroes. A lot of people would love to be heroes of fantasy in their minds, like to make up fictional scenarios, what they would do in a dangerous situation. But you can be a real hero. You can really save someone's life with physical first aid, with CPR, with mental health first aid, with donating blood, with going once a month to a pantry and helping out. People who do that have saved infinite more lives than someone sitting in their suburban home fantasizing about what they would do if they were on the scene of a mass shooting. You can be a real hero with very simple, very helpful actions. But I said we were going to have some fun now and come down from this very serious discussion. So let's take a quick break so I can get Silksong set up. And when we come back, we'll jump into Farloom and hang out with Hornet. Shaw! I am very grateful for any help that you could provide me with this minor inconvenience, Mr. Everard Clare.
Are you all right, Harry? You seem anxious. Don't be.
Oh, my name is Harry Dubois. I don't like that. Harry D's balls. You're speaking French. Bring your troops to the Seaman Islands and boogie down on the boogie street. Shake her hand, sure. Her grip is cold and tight. Yeah, I bet she grips real tight. I could help by brutally dismantling the free market. Such a good trooper you are, already learning the value of hard work.
I'm happy to help Mom out with the store.
Oh, she seems super nice. Sucks that she has to live in this world. But I mean, sucks that I have to live in this world.
We have almost no government of our own, and certainly no dictatorship of the proletariat.
Damn, that really does suck. And we're French. Royal Canadian Mounties in France? God. We have Mounties and they're French. These people have suffered enough. There's something you...
Welcome. You've got mail.
Ah, there we are. Welcome back. The ad's still running for some of you, so we'll just chill out here for a sec. I will turn the alerts and redeems back on. We had them all off during the lesson for obvious reasons. The game audio going. Do, do, do. There we are. Welcome back, everybody. We'll turn the redeems back on. We had them off for obvious reasons during the game section. Right. That's not what we want to capture. I want to capture Hollow Knight Silksong. We need to capture the Skong. There we go. Ah, gold stars. Are they on? Let me just make sure that they're on. Oh, they're on. They're just very tiny. For some reason. It's forgotten who I am. Oh, it's because it disconnected from VTube Studio. Because it's angry with me. I have angered the Streamlabs gods. I have angered OBS. I did not do the proper rituals. What's it called in Warhammer? I didn't press the right runes. Huh. I could just make the dodgeballs really tiny, and then they wouldn't even hurt me. The machine god is displeased with me. I did my best. But my best sometimes just isn't good enough. Which is why I'm not as big as Iron Mouse, despite being just as beautiful and talented. Let's see. Oh, Pat the Badger makes an appearance. We've got Pat the Badger back. Oh! Pat the Badger for the amazing work today. Well, thank you very much. I try. I don't always succeed, but I try. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but you just do your best. Patrick Theodore Badgerton returns. Oh yeah. Without Googling it, do you remember what the University of Wisconsin mascot's name is? Oh! The reason that I am a badger? I mean, I'll give you the hint. The name they go by is Bucky Badger. What did Bucky stand for? Or was short for? You might not have been here for the time we did that. Yeah, Rao has to clean up more desks. I'm going to get more comfortable. I got my vape. I've done my lesson. I did another stream earlier today where I interviewed an art teacher. You can check that out on the Knowledge Fellowship. I'll have that on their YouTube channel tomorrow. Bucktholomew, you're not actually that far off, Rao. It's Buckingham. Buckingham, you badger. I'm going to get my jacket off. Don't want my vest on. Roll up my sleeves. I mean, I could just put my tank top on. There we go. And if we're going to be hanging around Hornet, it's probably going to get kind of hot in here, so I think I'll just put my gym shorts on. Yeah. All right. It's time for Hollow Knight, Silksong. Come on, recognize my controller, you Steam. Shaw! Shoddy. Shoddy isn't very thick, but that's okay too. Come on, controller, connect. We're connected. That's false. There we go. Oh, wait, did it, music? No, it just changed my input. I forgot this controller has a voice detector. Or whatever. Voice detector? What is wrong with my brain? Voice detector? What is wrong with my brain? There we go. Health teacher admits to using vape. Yeah, it has a microphone. I don't know why. There we go. Mic the microphone. Alexa, beat this boss. All right. Now the editor can start their work. Welcome, everyone. Welcome. We've just finished a fantastic lesson. My name is Mr. Aegis. I am a health teacher in the real world, and I stream indie games, classic games, retro stuff, and I give health and wellness lessons on the weekend. This weekend, earlier today, we did a lesson on mental health first aid, how you can help someone who is in crisis. So now we're going to relax with our second episode of Silk Song. Shaw! I loved Hollow Knight. I played it a ton, but as Rob pointed out, I did take a shotgun blast of blood clots to my brain a few years ago. So I had to start just watching people play Hollow Knight, and I loved it. I have a big old Hollow Knight tattoo, and I was so excited for Silk Song. I was so excited for Skong. You're back, Weather Happened. I'm glad to see you back, Ren. Hope everything's cleared up with the weather. Gotta get used to playing this again. Shank! Chunk! Ushanka! Utini! I also have a big, indecipherable symbolic tattoo. That one I don't share. That would be too identifiable. Because no one else would ever have this tattoo. Can you believe it? Skong! Right here in front of me. Oh, it's our friend, Chakra. With her amazing rings. I don't want to fight her, but I'm guessing we will at some point. Hopefully just in like a friendly competition type battle. How is the volume? Ushkado. Ushkado. Ay, 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 ay. I could listen to her all day. Shaw. Voice is nice. Good, good. I think I added the audio levels were bad in the TKF stream. I always feel bad about my tiny little mistakes. I think I've been screwing up at work and heard my boss saying I messed up on something. Shard bundle. Fantastic. Secrets. Yeah. The two biggest complaints about this game are that it's too cheap for how good it is, and that they spent this much time doing a good job. Oh right, this is the dialogue that told me to smoke rock, and that's not going to happen. Yeah, things happen, often to me. This is a... This was an arena. I'd completed that already. Alright, this was the smith. I don't have the... What are they? The rosaries. I don't have enough rosaries for him. But I make mistakes. Like Hornet. Like you see a Hornet runs. She does a little Naruto run at the start. Oh, we have infection. Infection is here. Oh no. Gong lovers. Like me. Ouch! I don't like that. Get those things away from me. Yeah, I can't even see her arms, but she's still doing the Naruto run. Which, like I said the other day, I did the Naruto run. Holy crap! They give off a ton of infection. Oh, dang. My husk is quite a ways away. Yeah, I did the Naruto run the other day, which is impressive because I've never seen Naruto. I put my chicken tendies in the oven and my mac and cheese on the stovetop. And I was in the office and I heard the bell ding to tell me that they were done, and I was so excited. I was so excited for my tendies and mac and cheese like a big boy. I ran out to the kitchen and for some reason did the Naruto. My bits. I need that data. I need that bandwidth. Ushkado. Ushkado. Live, damn it. Live. Oh, yeah. Massive, lag spike. Can't hear my noodles? You can't hear my noodles? Testing, testing. Uno, dos, tres. Testing, testing. Am I muted? It doesn't say that I'm muted. Testing, testing, 1, 2, 3. Muted and she's still... Yeah. This is what the bitrate looked like there for a second. Jeff Bezos, this is unacceptable. I gave you how much money? And this is what it gets me? Jeff, of all of your terrible crimes for which you deserve to be in prison, this might be your worst one yet. Whooshkado, whooshkado. Yeah, it's just a big old leg party. Not a LAN party, which would be cool, but a leg party. Things seem to be back. The bitrate says excellent now. I just don't know if you can hear me. Buy the dip. The only dip I want to buy is going to go with my late night fully loaded taco chips that Doritos made. Like one of their special flavors. It's like the taco seasoning amped up. And I got some of the golden sriracha Doritos waiting for me because I'm a healthy person. Yeah, reload though, because it should be up now. Things should be working fine. As long as I didn't run everyone off. Oh, I should probably change the title of the stream, huh? I should probably change the title of the stream. Yeah. Aren't one of you supposed to remind me of that kind of thing? I feel like that's your job. Class. The teacher has so much else that they have to think about and take care of. But I don't know if y'all can see me, so I don't know if I want to keep the gameplay going. I would love to continue experiencing it, but it's better when my friends are here. And Bags, too. Little joke between me and my friend. Shoot. Testing. The bitrate looks excellent now, and I can see it on my phone, working fine. Samet SS Baspa. Samet Baspa. Samet Super Saiyan Baspa. Is it you or is like... Okay, it's not me. What is it? Is it me? Is it the ferrets? Can you hear me? Testing. Okay, so that's the real problem. Testing, testing. That should work. I can see it on the waveform analyzer. It says there's audio, and then it just doesn't have it. Microphone. Properties.